How Alexandra Fedorovna became the last Empress of Russia. Alexandra was born a princess and she married into another royal family, but this did not protect her from a nightmare ending to her life. Alexandra Fedorovna was born on the 6th of June 1872 as Princess Victoria Alix Helena Louise Beatrice in Darmstadt, Germany. She was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria of England, and so she had a lot of influence throughout Europe. Intertwining the lives of the Russians and the European nations never did go smoothly, logistically and politically. Queen Victoria herself fell in love with a Russian, but the government would never allow such a match to go ahead. However, Alexandra was slightly further removed from the British and German throne, and so her match to husband Tsar Nicholas II was finally approved, but having an outsider on the throne of her husband ultimately led to her execution and countrywide revolution. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Alix's childhood was one of privilege. She had a great education, but her life was also plagued with a deep sadness when her mother died when she was 6 years old, as well as her younger sister and younger brother, who died falling out of a window, and the other who died of diphtheria. After her mother died, Alix spent a lot of time in England, visiting her cousins. At the young age of 12, Princess Alix met Grand Duke Nicholas Romanov. He was the heir to the Romanov dynasty in Russia, and the pair established a friendship, which later turned into a romantic one. Princess Alix's German family spoke of their contempt for Russia, all while Nicholas's father, Tsar Alexander III, also held contempt for Germany. Despite the disapproval from both sides of the family, the pair had fallen in love, and they would go on to wed. They married on the 26th of November 1894, and she was indoctrinated into the Russian Orthodox Church. The princess was given a new Russian name of Alexandra Fedorovna, and she started a new life in Russia. Alix described her wedding as being more like a mere continuation of the Masses for the Dead, as her father-in-law had not long died of kidney failure at only 49 years old. The country the pair were responsible for ruling over was filled with unrest, and her husband had just lost his father and mentor when he ascended the throne, leaving him inexperienced for the role. Alexandra was still very young at only 22. She was out of her depth and had no idea how to run a country, especially one that was made up of 150 million ethnic minorities. The newly married couple certainly had a challenge ahead of them, and they did not get everything right in the eyes of the people. The coronation as leaders did not take place until 2 years after their marriage, and the coronation started off well. The pair showed off their extravagant wealth with opulent dresses made from diamonds and pearls, and a large feast, but the day ended in utter tragedy. The event took place at a field 5 miles outside of Moscow, and the field had been used to undertake military drills, and so the ditches and trenches that were left over from this collapsed, catapulting those who attended the feast downwards. A total of 1,300 people died. Not a very good start to their reign. The couple came across as very insensitive to the tragedy that had happened under their noses when they attended a party at the French embassy only a night after the tragedy. The public criticised them for not attending the hospitals where some of the survivors remained to recover. Another insensitive move involved Nicholas II holding a massive military review on the same field where so many commoners died. This was one of the straws that led to the camel's back breaking, as it were, and the public became increasingly displeased with those that were ruling their country. It was suspected that Princess Alix carried the gene for the blood disorder haemophilia, which she then went on to pass on to her children. Alix and Nicholas had 4 daughters that was followed by finally a son, Alexei. He had inherited his mother's haemophilia gene, so he suffered with his health. Rasputin was a notorious monk and mystic who had supposedly cured the young son Alexei's haemophilia when the toddler was 3 years old in 1908. The Queen was interested in mysticism, much to the dismay of the Russian court, but Rasputin had become the Queen's confidant and advisor anyway, even though most of Russia did not approve of Rasputin's fanatical mysticism. In 1914, the world entered its first official war, and Russia went to war with Germany. Tsar Nicholas II went to the front to command the troops himself in August 1915, and he was determined to see a victory for Russia. He was advised not to do this, but he did it nonetheless, leaving Alexandra alone in charge of domestic affairs. While at home alone, Alix fired most of the ministers as she did not trust them. Instead, she replaced them with people who had been recommended to her by Rasputin. This was a poor move, and most of these new ministers were dishonest and inexperienced. This is when Alix was accused of sabotaging the Russian court as treason in favour of Germany. The royal court had reached breaking point, and on the 16th of December they assassinated Rasputin, sending Alix into turmoil. The World War had plunged the Russian people into a deep state of famine, and the people were experiencing food shortages and starvation. The war was extremely costly and had sucked the resources out, which led to looting and rioting right across the country. Vladimir Lenin rose as the leader of an anti-Tsar revolution. His party was known as Bolsheviks. In response to the anti-Tsar revolution, Nicholas II abdicated the throne and fled, leaving the royal family unprotected and unsafe. They were under threat of assassination by those in the revolutionaries. Alexandra, her 5 children, and Nicholas II temporarily settled into a Siberian city controlled by the Bolsheviks. Revolutionaries had hold of the royal family and kept them under house arrest in April 1918, and the Romanovs endured their final days in fear. 3 months later, in July 1918, the Bolsheviks herded the entire family late at night into the basements of the house. Each member of the Romanov royal family, one by one, were executed by gun. Nicholas, Alexandra, their 4 daughters and teenage son. The wall was torn away to find bullets and evidence of the executions. Even 100 years after the Russian Revolution, the last days of Alexandra and her family haunt the Russian people. Speculation endures as to how exactly the family met their end. There are different accounts on what happened on that fateful day, and both are grisly or haunt the Russian people to this day. One story is of hope and utter disbelief, believing instead that the family managed to escape and survive, while the other tallies with the evidence that they were slain by the opposition. In 1979, the bodies of the family were found. It was evident that they had been shot and then stabbed. Acid had also been poured over their bodies, perhaps to hide their identity in the years to come. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Please comment, like and subscribe if you wish for more stories, and leave your suggestions below and I will endeavour to cover them.